Furiosa came out just barely even a week ago and massively underperformed in its opening weekend. I think they were initially projecting something like 70, 80 million for its Memorial Day opening weekend. Ended up coming in at like 31 million. So way underperforming. And I think it's now, according to Box Office Mojo, it's sitting at about 68 million worldwide against a budget of 160 million. So I think it's fair to say this movie is at the very least going to underperform seriously and possibly just be an all-out bomb. And
it's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Hundreds of millions. Yeah.
And it's kind of joining the ranks of so many other movies recently, like The Fall Guy. You know, like what was the other one that was out that kind of underperformed?
You're talking about If and Planet of the Apes?
Planet of the Apes, that was it.
Planet of the Apes, yeah.
So, you know, all like relatively crowd-pleasing movies with a sort of a proven track record, at least in Planet of the Apes' case, all underperforming. And I guess I'm kind of wondering why. Like whether this points to like a bigger problem for the summer movie season ahead, and just I don't know, are people just not interested in movies at the moment?
Well, I think people like a couple of things. Oh yeah, there's like a couple of things. Like in general, people are not really going to the movies that much in general since the COVID happened and is over now.
Yeah.
Then Mad Max movie, which is not about Mad Max. I think there's a whole nother people who are like, I don't really care about other characters that much. I mean, Furiosa wasn't Fury Road, so yeah, I guess I'll go watch it maybe. Yep. But then I think the biggest thing is they just release the movies 3 weeks after on digital nowadays. It's like, oh, they didn't do well in the first 2 days. We're just going to release them in 3 weeks, and you can just watch them at home. And if I had the choice, and I'm not going to talk about them day one or something, it's like, I'm just going to wait and just watch them on my telly, on my couch, and actually pause the movie and go have a leak, because the movie is 17 hours long every time.
I think that's a really fair point, actually, especially the streaming aspect of it. If you're going to make things available just literally within a matter of weeks, it's not even months now, it's weeks after the theatrical run. Yeah, what's the incentive? Unless it's some like crazy zeitgeist movie that everyone has to see, which it very rarely is. Yeah, people are just probably going to wait. Yeah, Barbenheimer.
No.
Yeah, people are probably just going to wait, and that's an interesting problem that I don't know how you get around. I mean, I know people have. Sorry,
the ticket prices are probably the main reason why, because you don't want to waste money on like a film that might be mid. Because Fury Road only got like 300 odd million.
Yeah, it wasn't a big hit.
And it was 9 years ago. So it's a prequel spin-off with female-led, which most people, you know, usually associate that with something terrible, of a film that came out nearly a decade ago. And the ticket prices are like 3 times what they were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's not just you got to take out your whole family. Then you've got to do something else. It's like over 100 quid.
Yeah, there's so many layers to it. You go to the movies, like you just said, you spend a ton of money. Typically now, more than ever, you're dealing with some idiots on their phone in front of you that are distracting you, because people are always on their phones. They're always checked out. And then there's just so much to it. Inflation's crazy right now with the economy. People just don't have as much money to spend. And I think the biggest factor is the loss in faith in Hollywood, generally speaking. Yes, there are some surefire things that people will go see because of momentum. Barbie and Oppenheimer are the classic examples of that. But used to, people would look at it and go, I'm a little 50-50 on this movie. I'm not sure. It looks pretty good. People used to tend to go see a movie they were on the fence on, usually. Now they're typically like, if I'm on the fence, I'm probably not going to go see the movie, because they've lost so much faith in the general public's trust. So that I think that there's multiple layers that play into this, but ultimately it's the quality of the product that we've been getting consistently for the past 5 to 8 years.
Yeah, I mean, I know the thing that a lot of people have seized upon is that like this is a very obviously female-led movie that has not done well, and there, you know, the narrative that some people have tried to build is like, this is the end of the girl boss. Like, it's just a sign that everyone's sick of it and nobody wanted this female-led movie. I don't know if that's strictly true, but it does make me wonder if there is an element of they've had a lot of bad female-led films over the past half decade or so, if not more in some cases. And I wonder if they are just more reticent about films like this now, just because they've had some bad experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the girl boss thing. Like, look, we can sit here and say that, you know, girl boss, and that's a really meme kind of way to look at it. But when they are marketing something that you have to go see this movie because there's a woman in it and she's strong and powerful and you have to support women, that's going to turn off people. It doesn't mean you can't give people a movie with a woman lead in it. You just don't build around that. And plus, this is a male franchise. This is Mad Max. Yes, I know Fury Road. Everybody loved it. I hated that movie, but everybody seemed to love that movie. But it didn't. I think Reaper brought it up. It didn't. It was like nearly. I think it did like 375 million or something like that when it's all said and done at the box office, which is not a huge hit even for 10 years ago. But
yeah. I mean, kind of agree with that. It didn't do anywhere near as well as people. I think
the perception was that it did gangbusters at the box office, and it just didn't.
I think it just had a good word of mouth.
Yeah, I think its reputation kind of grew, maybe with home media as well. Like people became quite fond of it, and it just became this like this bit of a throwback to like the days of practical effects in action movies, where everyone just keeps raving about like, oh, the action sequences are fantastic, and they did a lot of their own stunts and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think there's probably more CGI than people give it credit for, but you know, it still looked really good, and it was a pretty good, fun movie.
I recently. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just finishing up there. So
okay, because I recently just watched all the Mad Max movies because I was like a Mad Max noob. I only watched Fury Road years ago. I was like, oh yeah, it was kind of fun. And like coming up to Fury Road, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna watch all of them. The first one is a wild movie. I didn't know what I was in for. That was crazy.
Super low budget.
Then Road Warrior, love that one. Road Warrior is great.
Yeah.
Thunderdome. I still don't know what I want to think about that one. That is another weird one.
The Tina Turner casting was a bit of an odd choice. Yeah.
But every time it's like all the practical stuff. It just all looks really cool. And then Fury Road was like this weird retelling, reboot, reimagination, but kind of isn't. And I was just confused when I came back to that one. But it was still fun. And so, kind of same with Furiosa. It's like, there's some fun stuff in there, but overall, it's like, yeah, that was a fun movie. Because just coming back to that, I think if it would be another climate for cinema, I think this would have done fine. Like if people would still go to the cinema like they used to. They're just like, oh yeah, it's like a little popcorn movie, have a little action. It's going to be fun stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think there was like 10 people in my cinema.
Everything.
Before we go on, I just wanted to welcome Jedi Brooks to the panel as well. Yeah, you kind of I stealthily brought you in there.
You should have just ignored them all stream.
I know. Let's see how long this could go. I'm totally fine. I'm the late comer. So I replied. You sent it to me when I was at work, and I'm literally holding a laser in my hand. So I replied and wrote.
This is more important.
Yes, I wrote that, and yeah, I noticed just before the stream started that you didn't get my reply. So I'm here, like ready to go. Like, oh shit.
yeah. That's okay. Well, I'm glad we were able to bring you in anyway.
And I didn't even realize there was that many of them. Like, I had never seen any Mad Max movie before, so I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So we'll get into that.
It's great that it's, as Metal like hinted at there, it all started with this low budget Australian post-apocalyptic thriller, like with Mel Gibson, who was a fucking unknown back then. And it's a cool little movie. You know, it's not a hugely complicated plot, but none of them are really. But I think Mad Max 2 is the one that really put the series on the map. That's the one everyone points to as like the awesome one that everyone remembers. The first one, it's kind of like, it's pretty obscure. The third one is just when it got too commercialized and you know, disappeared up its own arse, I guess, and too Hollywoodized. And then there was just this huge gap where it just seems like the franchise was dead and gone. Like who was going to make another Mad Max movie at that point? And then, yeah, it's like 30 years later, we get this crazy sort of quasi reboot from the same director with a completely different actor playing Max. And that's how we ended up with Fury Road. And yeah, like you guys said, it wasn't a huge success financially, but people just keep pointing to it as like, wow, that movie was amazing. You know, it reinvigorated the franchise. And I think if you were going to do a Furiosa spin-off, you probably should have released it within a couple of years. I think if you'd released it around 2017, 2018, when it was still like somewhat fresh in people's minds, you probably would have done a lot better.
I also feel like when normally when we get these like, I don't know, like adjacent movies about other characters, they're normally like gap fillers until the next one comes out. And I think they're now working on a new Mad Max movie with Tom Hardy in it again. I think I heard. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's something I heard somewhere. So it's just weird because you would expect this to be like a gap filler to the next movie, and then it's like, oh, that was kind of neat.
I know what they did. Like they actually wrote the entire script for Furiosa and gave it to Charlize Theron so that she would know exactly what her character's backstory was and what she'd been through to help inform her performance, which is a cool idea. I love that, like kind of attention to detail and stuff. But I think the big problem was that George Miller was embroiled in a lawsuit with Warner Brothers for years and years. It just dragged on forever because the movie underperformed and he felt that he was not paid what he should have been given. And it just became this big protracted battle that delayed everything.
It's just a constant problem we're in. Any business that's ever existed that's been successful, ask one simple question. What's going to make us the most money? You know what's going to make you the most money? Put Mel Gibson in a fucking Mad Max movie at this point in time, and everybody's going to freak out over it. Are there going to be people that are crying about it and whining? Yes, you're still going to make a ton of money, and that's going to be the most successful project that you can get green light with this name and that story. Put Mad Max in it, and that's going to make you the most money, and they're not doing that. And again, yes, we like The Fall Guy. I really liked The Fall Guy. I had so much fun with that movie, but it's part of the overall problem in Hollywood is that people have lost trust to even go see something that might look good, but they're like, well, I'm not sure, and I don't want to spend this money, or I don't want to take as much time, and I'll just wait till it comes out on streaming or whatever. The Fall Guy was dumb fun. I had so much fun with the movie, but nobody went to see it because, again, overall faith has been lost.
I was having that same conversation with a friend yesterday about how like people, they really have to put in the work to earn people's attention to go to the theater. People aren't just going to go on the regular anymore. That whole, that routine of just like, hey, let's go see a movie. Nobody does that anymore. Like they have to actually earn it now. And it's really difficult to do that because they don't see it. Their idea, they've turned it into content, and like that's just ruined the artistic aspect of it.